Paano nyo pinaghandaan yung season na to with all that emotional, things that you had to deal with?
The whole team, no, really played every game for Rogie. They dedicated each game for Rogie, and we just inalala lang namin ulit how Rogie was as a player, and yung iniwan niyang ideals, yung sipag, yung fight. I think yun yung in-embody ng team ngayon. And I think those are qualities na we hope habang buhay madadala na ng UP players in remembrance of Rogie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gold Diggers, a show where we discuss stories of leadership and motivation, with sports serving as a metaphor, dedicated to daily grinders, corporate athletes, and go-getters. I'm your host, Carlos Pineda, your resident box-to-box midfielder or point forward, transitioning from esports to football, and vice versa. In the previous episode, we had weightlifter Heidelin Diaz, an Olympian, who encourages the next generation to chase their dreams. Her experience in the biggest spectacle in sports, grinding her way to the top, has taught us the 3 C's for success, namely curiosity, being open to new discoveries, company, having the best supporting squad that would motivate you to win, and lastly, consistency, where 1 second of doubt equals a disaster. And I wouldn't be able to appreciate her journey, flex my noodle-looking biceps, and pretend to be an Olympian if it weren't for my fellow gold diggers. Let's welcome all of them, Simone, Relly, and Robbie.
Hi everyone, Simone here. Today we have with us a very well-respected football coach and someone I believe is the epitome of a modern coach. So he has some really interesting insights to share about leading, especially about leading the young. And it can also be applicable for the young at heart. So stay tuned to learn more. Right, Relly?
That's right, Sim. That's quite a mouthful. But hello, fellow diggers. Good to be with you guys again on this Saturday night. Hope you'll stay glued, as this is one session you wouldn't want to miss. Over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Relly. So very excited and honored to have a childhood friend of mine, former teammate, and an inspiration of ours in the form of Coach Anto Gonzales. So we hope that you really stay tuned in this program because he has a lot to say about leadership. And we too look forward in our discussion with him. So Carlos, take it away.
It's a pleasure to have my fellow gold diggers in this show. All right, now let's proceed to the main event. Introducing our guest. He is a natural-born winner, as seen when he brought the University of the Philippines a magnitude of titles, where he brought his own university not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. 7? Wait. 8 championships. 8 championships, 2 as a player, 6 as a coach, to be specific, 5 for the men's and 1 for the women's. His coaching credentials gave him the opportunity to serve as an assistant coach for the Philippine national team under 23s. Without further ado, let's welcome Coach Anto Gonzales.
Hello everyone. It's such an honor to be here. Nice to see my football friends, Relly, Robbie, and Simone, and Carlos also. I'm really honored to be here. Grabe yung lineup ninyo, ha. I've seen a few of your episodes. Heidelin, Gretchen, Nate Berkey, Coach Nolly. Great lineup, and I'm very grateful to be part of this endeavor. And what you've taken this towards this path, no, I think very important siya and crucial, especially during these times na, maraming tao ang naghahanap ng inspiration. And with your platform, marami kayong natutulungan in terms of, pag-share ng mga stories, pag-highlight ng insights, and life lessons as well. So happy to be here.
Oh, the feeling's mutual without a doubt, Coach Anto. I mean, mentioning us, providing that sort of storyline, inspiring a lot of people in this time of crisis, really showcases the effort as well as the purpose of this show. So, Coach Anto, well, if you look at the situation right now, you did mention this crisis that we're dealing right now, and your football season is affected. Like there's no college football happening right now, although there are rumors that it could return sometime in 2020 or maybe 2021. So, given the situation now, Coach Anto, tell us, what have you been up to lately?
We've been doing online training sessions, so with UP and with Aspire. With UP, our approach is, we're taking it one day at a time, but we want to be ready for the best case scenario, which is UAAP pushes through. But at the same time, we're also trying to manage our expectations, not to get our hopes too high, and focus on the daily grind, constant improvement, everyday improvement. And then on a personal level, trying to stay sane. I've been exercising a lot, learning a few new things like, cooking soy milk, homemade soy milk, making granola. So things that, I find enjoyable these days. So basically, that's what I've been up to lately. And also, of course, attending webinars and meetings, discussing about what to do with football in terms of how to help, push football forward. So I've been talking and meeting with a lot of people lately.
Right, that's a really productive differences that you're dealing it right now, Coach Anto. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up in MasterChef, with the fact that you mentioned that you're actually cooking right now.
Amateur pa lang, amateur.
Amateur, all right. But don't worry, you did mention like progress, in this terms of pandemic. And speaking of progress, I mean, we already witnessed what you've accomplished, like a champion. But of course, before you became a champion, you had to undergo like a long due process for you to reach that stage. But before you became a football player, I would like to know, Coach, the audience as well, what made you decide to venture into football?
So, actually, football wasn't my first sport. I was into basketball. It was my passion. It was a dream of mine to someday play in the PBA. That was, that was such a big thing for me. I started playing basketball when I was 5. My cousin influenced me. He was a basketball varsity player in Ateneo de Davao. So basically, I grew up away from my parents and under the care of my tita and my grandparents. So that was my first introduction into sports, so basketball. And then when me and my sister moved to Manila to be with my parents, I tried out for the school varsity team in Claret. Unfortunately, yung coach, he preferred tall players, 'di ba? Sabi nga nila, ang height hindi natuturo, pero ang skills natuturo. So he chose tall players. So I got cut. And I was so disappointed. I was so frustrated na I felt like until this coach gets replaced, I will never have a chance. So over that summer, I saw this pub mat on the Claret built board announcing the summer football program. So I thought to myself, why not try football? So that was my first try into football, first foray into football. And I think it was a mutual connection. I enjoyed it so much because I was a very active kid. So I enjoyed the whole field, running around. And the coach back then, Coach Bob, also, natuwa siya sa akin kasi sobrang sipag ko. I had no skills, zero skills. So, and then immediately he invited me to try out for the school varsity team. So I became a varsity in grade 6, and then since then I tuloy-tuloy na. So that was the start of my football journey.
Wow, I mean, of course, you have this zero to hero story, zero skills, and then all of a sudden, where you are right now, coaching like the Philippine national team as well as your college alma mater. And speaking of coaching, Coach Anto, I'm curious, what made you decide to venture into coaching?
To be honest, when I was about to graduate from college, I I I applied for jobs that would somehow wherein I could apply my course, which was sociology. So research jobs. I applied for NGOs. And then while waiting for interview schedules, exams, Coach Bob, my college coach then, asked me if I wanted to participate in a coaching course. So since wala pa akong ginagawa at that time, sige, why not? So I gave it a try, and then I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I really never saw myself as a football coach. Never. But during the coaching course, I saw how, parang I started respecting the profession so much more. I realized how much effort, how much, thought, preparation, sacrifice is needed to become a good coach. And then I appreciated the process. And then I also thought to myself na actually at that time I wasn't ready to give up football. I was still training with the team. I even joined one competition after I graduated. So I thought na, maybe the next best thing after playing would be coaching. So that I made that decision to go into coaching and leave yung mga hindi ko na pinuntahan yung mga interview schedules. So that's how I got into coaching.
Oh, wow. I mean, of course, we've seen the progression of your coaching career. I mean, it started with the grassroots level, and then all of a sudden, here you are at the biggest stage in Philippine football. All right. Of course, I'm not the only one who has some sort of discussions with Coach Anto Gonzales, as my fellow gold diggers would like to dig deep as well. Introducing Simone, Relly, and Robbie. You know what to do. Take it away.
Hi, Coach Anto.
Hi, Simone.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here because it's I'm really excited to be able to pick your brain, especially because I'm coming from the perspective of a coach. So a lot of the things I've prepared for you actually now is also questions I'd like to know as a coach. So you shared that you never thought you'd be coaching, and it's by chance that you got to coach, and now here you are coaching one of the top teams in the UAP, the youth national teams, and also you're running a football academy. So starting out, did you already know what kind of coach you wanted to be?
Okay, my first coaching experience was an assistant coach in UP and a youth coach in Claret. I think different yung approach ko for UP and for Claret. For UP, since I was very young at the time, I was only 22. So I was like I still wanted to be friends with the players. So I'd hang out with them, I'd join them, magkakain sila, So I wanted to be that kind of coach, a friend. And also I think it helped the dynamics around the team because Coach Bob was sort of the father figure, the authority figure. And so because of his very authoritative demeanor, a lot of the players, couldn't really approach him and, share whatever they want to share. So I sort of became the bridge. So these players would, come up to me if they had concerns, and then ako yung magre-relay kay Coach Bob. And then with Claret naman, because I spent so many years with Coach Bob, and I felt that, the approach of Coach Bob helped me to a great deal. I mean, I became tougher. I loved the sport so much more because of his passion. So parang sort of I was molding myself in his figure, coaching these kids from Claret. But also taking into consideration, because as his player, grade school, high school, and college, so ang tagal namin magkasama ni Coach Bob, I became aware also na there were moments wherein yung passion ni Coach Bob and yung delivery niya was just too much and put a lot of pressure on some players. Some players who are confident enough, who have a stable, mental state and emotional state, they're able to respond very well. But for players na, lacking in self-confidence, siguro may pinagdadaanan sa bahay, these players, they tended to, to parang nanliliit sila. And they weren't able to perform. So that realization, I brought that into my coaching naman with the kids.
It's interesting because it shows that you're a very reflective coach. Is that something that that you've always been ever since? You're the type who'd always look back, try to think, oh, what did I do? How could I do things better? And also, I'm curious, like, other than Coach Bob, is there anyone else that maybe a coach or another figure that you look up to that you'd like to follow?
Yeah, I think I developed that high sense of self-awareness because I didn't grow up with my parents. So when I started playing sports, no one really watched me. So no one would, tell me or give me advice or tell me how I did. So I think that's how I developed I'm on my own. If I really want to become a better athlete, I need to do a self-assessment continuously. So I think that's how I developed a high level of self-awareness, which I also brought into my coaching. And then other coaches who I look up to, I've been very fortunate, to have been coached by great coaches and mentors. I had a high school coach, Coach Dong. Siya naman, his philosophy was, when you're in a team, no matter what happens, you stick together. Kayo ang best friends. That's your family. So that's what I learned from him, and I also tried to apply into the teams that I was coaching. Because Coach Bob at the time, very technical, tactical. So nagkaroon sila ng balance because they also work together. So sometimes we'd have two coaches. So magandang balance na si Coach Dong was providing this atmosphere na, no matter what happens, you have to, be together, stay together, and, treat each other like family and brothers. So that's what I picked up from Coach Dong. And then from Coach Cutillas, who was my coach, under 19 coach namin ni Rob, I learned how to be really very meticulous and, how to think deeply about football through him. Because, wala siyang patience pag di ka nag-iisip. Wala siyang patience sa mga players na hindi gumagamit ng utak. So you have to be 2-3 steps ahead. You have to anticipate every play, what's gonna happen next, what are all the options. So that's what I learned from him. And then Coach Aris naman, who was my coach in the national team, he's a very good player manager. He manages players very well. You know, sina Phil yung husband, James, diba? Siyempre, big players. And then at the same time, the players na galing sa provinces. And he has that ability to always get the best out from his players. That's what I picked up from him. And of course, yung scouting talent niya, he prepares, he studies opponents very well to the letter. Lahat ng detalye covered niya. And then he'd come up with a game plan on how to, to manage the opponents. And then from Coach Simon McMenemy, who was my coach in Meralco, siya naman very, very good motivator. Like, kasi ang English, di ba, iba sila mag-motivate. Talagang, hey, come on, lads. Minsan, ano pa yan, nagmumura. Pero like, oh, nice. Pumped up kami. And he's the type of coach who, like, he's very emotional. But, when we suffer losses, sometimes he'd get too emotional, but nakaka-bounce back siya kaagad in such a way na, hey, guys, look at this defeat on a bigger picture. These are the things that we did correctly, and these are the things that we need to improve on. So, looking at, losses in perspective, poor performances in perspective, Coach Simon helped me a lot on that aspect.
That's so interesting because you've mentioned so many coaches and what you've learned from them and the kind of influence they had on you. And that just goes to show that I bet, like, I'm so sure that you're a thinking player. Other than just your skills, like game IQ puts you at an advantage over the other players. So I'm sure, and of course, having high game IQ and how you were as a player, you're a reflective player as well, and that's very useful as a coach. And it goes to show with the success that you've had as a coach. And particularly in 2016, you were the head coach of both the UP men's and women's football teams, and both teams were able to become UAAP champions for that season. And it's not easy to work with two teams and get that kind of result. So how did you make that happen, and what was the process? Was the process the same for the women's team as it was with the men's team?
Very, very, I get very nostalgic and emotional when I look back at that year, 2016, because a lot of things happened during that year, mostly challenges. Back then we didn't have a football field, so we had to travel all the way to Taguig or to Marikina to train. And then we lost a beloved player in Rogie Maglinas. So, but you know what? If there's one thing that I learned from that experience, the power of support of community is just tremendous. It can, short of saying that it can lead to miracles because yung women's team namin, going up against LaSalle, which had how many national team players, and they were unbeaten all throughout the elimination round. And we were coming in as really the big underdogs in that championship game. And to be honest, rin kami, like, we were quite lucky. Baka si Rogie nagbabantay during the game. Because first half of that game, LaSalle completely dominated. I felt like that was probably the longest 45 minutes of my life as a coach. They were just bombarding us with attempts. We kept on making unforced errors. we didn't show any confidence. We were very nervous, which, to a certain extent, I was maybe expecting a little bit, but not that grave. And then actually during the halftime break, I was so mad, because not because we were being dominated, but because we weren't showing confidence and courage that epitomized how Rogi lived his life. So that was really my rallying point. It was Rogi's example. Um, and I was really shouting. And then I gave very little tactical advice. So basically, I just, we're better than this. Make Rogi as your inspiration, etc., etc. And the team captain followed my lead. So she was the one who, went on and started, hey, come on, girls, this is what we had to do. And then the team got together. And then second half was quite a different story. And we found a way to win. The approach was, with the men's team kasi, I think the expectations were higher, because we had such a good crop of players, very technically skilled. We had a group of freshmen who had national team experience. So for them, it was more of a tactical focus, and then really, but the same approach was making Rogi that inspiration, and we're very lucky to have a group of players who, who were just very supportive of each other. And then with the women's naman, the approach was more technical, because I think naghahabol kami in terms of technical ability, and really keeping the team, bonded, because as girls, di ba, mas important sa kanila yung social bonding, and we also focused a lot on that.
Roger is a big factor in that 2016 championship for both. But I'd like, and really we'll talk about more later, but I'd like to focus on the bonding, especially on the kind of relationships that you have with your players. And you as a reflective coach, you can't be reflective and not care, right? But also, so that means you really care about your players. But how do you also get your players to care about you? So what's the guiding principle when it comes to how you relate with your players?
Okay, very good question, Simone. When I started coaching, I think it's very common for young coaches early on in their careers na, what we see that is a defining moment for our coaching career is the championships, the wins. I was in that same mold early on in my career. Like, I wanted to chase, back-to-back championships, three-peats. But, I realized that these championships, you'll have a new champion the following year. And, who can remember down the road, 10 years down the road, who will remember that year 2000 champion? No one. So with those championships, I also felt like, but that feeling of, joyfulness that comes with winning, it's fleeting. But when I look back, what really gives me the most fulfillment, it's, looking back at those, struggles that you go through together as a team. The hard talks, these are, young adults. They go through a lot in life. They make a lot of mistakes. They explore. And then this is the time that, your role as a coach is most important. And um, I had a great sense of fulfillment in you know, those moments wherein I felt like I made an impact to this player just by listening to his or her problems, or just by asking him or her about his or her family. Um, you know, ask me, joking around with them. So that was, you know, that I found great satisfaction in that. And these are the things that, you know, after their playing careers, they will carry with themselves. That bond, that connection. And, you know, as a coach, it's I think, more than the number of championships. Once they're done with their collegiate careers, you know, yung siguro yung deep sense of happiness ko makukuha ko when, you know, I see them become successful in life. And you know, when we see each other again, you know, you have that same warmth, you know, connection, maaalala mo yung shared experiences. And that's what makes coaching such a wonderful experience. And so I long for those experiences. That's why I try to develop really strong connections with my players.
So, so as a coach or as a leader, if you're gonna define in one word, what's something that you would need to be able to develop your relationships with the people you work with, what would that be?
It's empathy. You know, making the well-being of your players your priority. Not just, you know, making them, you're good, mabait ka sa kanila when they are performing, but when they are not performing, you don't care. You know, and putting yourself in their shoes, trying to see how they see things, trying to feel how they feel about certain things. Um, Early on in my coaching, yun nga, dahil lumaki ako in an environment wherein, you know, tough love yung ginawa sa akin when I was still playing. So I imbibed that approach early on in my career. Like, for example, when a player comes into training late, automatic yan, papagalitan ko. Automatic yan, sasabihan ko yung player na you're being disrespectful. You don't respect other people's time. And then I realized na, uy, baka may nangyari sa kanya. Baka napuyat sa school. Baka like may pinagdadaanan or whatever. So I started, you know, developing this attitude of, maybe giving the player the benefit of the doubt. So now I'm asking more questions. Oh, what happened to you? Ano nangyari? So and players, you know, respond very well to that, because they will feel that you care about them, as persons. You know, that I think that's the most important thing, that the players feel that you care about them as persons, not just as football players. You know, spending after training sessions, you know, just making kamusta the players, and then hearing them out. Medyo mahirap lang sa football kasi ang dami mong players. So, but whenever like, kaya I delegate, you know, the responsibility of checking up on players sa team captains. O pag pag may teammate kayo na may gantong problema, na hindi kami nasasabihan, please inform us. Please be the bridge. Okay? And then we make sure to you know, reach out to that player. We have a very open open communication kami sa team. We want to know everything, what's going on with each player. And that builds a lot of trust, deep trust, that, you know, translates to trust on the field. And when things get tough, when we're not performing, when we suffer losses, dun lang kami babalik eh. And the players will always, respond positively if they feel that the coach and the leaders of the team are really concerned about their welfare, not just as football players, but more importantly as persons.
I love that empathy, because empathy brings people together, and with empathy also that means you recognize that they're more than just athletes, like what you said earlier, and like that's why when we opened today, I said, you are the epitome of a modern coach, because there's the tendency, like when you think of a traditional coach is someone who distances themselves from their players, and like sometimes the love comes in a little too late.
Yeah.
And I love that you recognize that you're working with different individuals, you're going through different experiences, and you adjust accordingly also as a coach. So that shows how flexible you are also as a coach and as a leader, knowing that you're working with different individuals. So and that definitely ties up to your overall coaching philosophy, which Robbie will be talking about. So Robbie.
Thanks, Simone. So what I like so far is that the first Carlos's line of questioning and your line of questioning, Sim, is bringing back a lot of fond memories. So I remember a lot of the days we were training in Ultra, Coach Anto, right? And Sim, you're right. I mean, Anto has always been the one that has the reputation for being a thinking player, and I think it comes with the territory because he is a central midfielder, so he really plays that sort of role to make the play happen for the team. So this is what I picked up so far, Coach. So first of all, from what you and Simone discussed, challenges bring out the best of us, and you demonstrated that in your historic 2016 season, right? And secondly, what I picked up so far is that the value of empathy and prioritizing the growth of your players, that's the one that brought you the most success. So let's move forward to your coaching career. So in our pre-discussion, you discussed, no, like any good leader, you discussed the value of a goal or target setting during the preseason, which is something very important in your team's campaign. And yet the term win or winning is not even mentioned in your team huddles. So can you tell us your coaching objectives and what your priorities are?
Okay. So basically, our goal setting is we don't mention winning, but we instill a mindset of preparing ourselves for the biggest game of our lives. Okay, whether that that whenever that comes, we have to be ready. Okay, but the main focus of our preparation or of our like team philosophy is constant progress and improvement. So we set like we always talk to players. Although not like in a way na, because I really believe that we can be still more organized in terms of how we set goals for our players, like because we as coaches we have goals for particular players, and the players themselves also have their own goals for themselves. So ideally we try to connect that, but we don't have a formal process for that, so it's quite informal. I wish we could be more organized, but the process goes like this. Last year, this were your strong areas, and then now moving forward, what do you think can you improve to become a better player? So all aspects, tactical, technical, character wise, mindset, and then also how you relate with your team. It's also very important for us. And then the player provides his or her for thoughts, and then that's when that's a good point. Okay, so let's start working on that. And then there's a constant, we try to instill a habit of constant self-evaluation among the players. Every single training session, you come in the day before the training session, you have your goals. Last session, I didn't do so well in this area. We did this exercise, but I didn't get it right away. This was, the area that I wasn't performing very well in. So for the next session, tomorrow's training session, I'm gonna focus on correcting that part. Okay, and then once I correct it, what's the next step for me? So there's always a next step. So the players have this mentality of never resting on their laurels and always looking to be better every single day. So that's the kind of philosophy that we instill in the team. And during our pre-match huddles, preparations, we never mention the word winning. It's all about specific goals. It's all about, we played the first half this way. How can we improve relative to our objectives, relative to our targets. If we win, then good, that's a bonus. If we lose, but we were able to adjust, we were able to improve on our first half performance, and we fought really hard, we showed good attitude, then that's good enough.
I like what you said, though. So parang from how it strikes me, the way you described, in the absence of a formal guide, it's still there. The intent to have like a mentoring and progress development, which is I think critical in hitting team objectives, right? And you also touch on something that I think you are quite known for, which is incremental gains. So can you tell us how you approach wins and losses if it doesn't come up in the team huddles? What's a win for you and what's a loss for you? Can you tell us more about what you think of wins and losses?
Okay. I attended this webinar yesterday, and this part on outcome goals, on performance goals, and on action goals resonated very well with me. So it was presented that when you focus too much on the outcome goals, the anxiety level of the players get too high. Okay? But when you focus more on the action goals, then the anxiety lowers. And it resonated with me so much because that's how we have been approaching our games or our campaigns. We never set the championship as a target. And I think that frees up a lot of pressure on the players, because the game itself already presents a lot of uncontrollable factors. And that pressure of, winning a championship, ano na yan, wag mo nang idagdag pa yan. Okay? So, we let our players focus on the controllable factors themselves. What can they control to, meet our objectives? So we set targets. And when for example, we lose, but we, check lahat. So we do that during like our halftime talks and our post-match talks. Binabalikan namin yung objectives. Okay, ito nagawa natin first half check, second half check. Pag majority yan check, we did well. Kahit na, let's say, down tayo 2-0. Okay? Down tayo 0, but objective-wise, we're doing very well. And we don't nitpick on, the small mistakes. Sometimes, football is, it involves luck also. May isa kang mistake, maybe clearance error, napunta sa kalaban, goal. Okay? we try to look at the bigger picture, the whole performance, not just one particular incident, whether it is good or bad. So it's the same thing. We scored a fantastic goal, but how did we get that goal? Was it a team effort? Was it like was ano lang ba solo effort, or was the team playing well before we scored that goal, or were we being dominated by the opponent? If we were being dominated by the opponent because we weren't showing enough fight, and then we score a goal, you won't see me standing and applauding, because yun nga, our training is, you look at the bigger picture, not on those small situations.
I like that. So basically, what you're saying is you're choosing what you value as a team, right? What you value as a team win, hitting team objectives, or a loss, meaning not hitting the objectives, even if the outcome is a win, right? So I love that. So what it's saying to me is that it's really reinforcing the right behaviors to make progress, or eventually winning later on, an outcome of the process. So it's really about process orientation. I really like that. And growing up on opposite sides of the field as opponents and eventually teammates later on, it really shows me, it really points to me that this is your character even before pa. Even if you're saying you learned it in the webinar yesterday, I think you've been doing that before. And this is the benefit of now. This is the benefit of YouTube now and football getting some popularity over the years since our time. So I'm really amazed at how one of the biggest observations is that your players speak very highly of you and the process by which you make them realize on how to improve their respective games. So I think you touched on this lightly earlier. So can you tell us, can tell the audience about how you talk to your players, about how you approach their development? You touched on it na earlier kanina.
I also mentioned earlier that I enjoy these talks with players. Football, ano man yan, football matter, life matter, love life nila. So I always enjoy these talks with the players, because that's that's our way of really connecting and establishing deep bonds, no? That even after football will remain. So I think as a player, I was like that. I was constantly evaluating myself, and then I wanted to constantly improve. So I carried that on as a coach. So with the players, there's a constant feedback mechanism. Minsan nga, I think, but sometimes I have a tendency to really focus more on what they need to improve on. What's the next step for them? Sometimes I forget about, hey, you did this very well. You're very good at this. So, but lately I've been quite conscious about it. So before I make it a point that before I tell or ask them, oh, what's the next step for you to improve? I ask them first, oh, kamusta yung game mo? Anong tingin mo, how was your game? And then I give my positive feedback or positive comment. And then that's when I deliver, the what's next for you? I believe that with that kind of feedback mechanism, the players have this sense of, even if we win 6-0, even if I play superbly, I score 3 goals, there's still a next step for me. I can still get better. I cannot rest. Maybe I can rest tonight, but tomorrow it's another day, another opportunity for me to work on my game. And it's the same thing with, their life outside of football. We always, want to translate their improvements on the field as football players to improvements on their life outside of the field. ACADS, their relationships with their family, with their friends, being teammates, and I mean that's how we develop, that kind of mentality of constant improvement.
I like that. So basically, what I heard is you're talking about the value of, and you did this on your own also when you were younger, developing self awareness and how it can contribute to self improvement, as you said. And I like it how you mentioned in in my earlier question that I asked on the mutual responsibility that the player and you have in terms of hitting team objectives. So it's not just a team objective. There's also individual objectives that the players have to tick boxes in their own progress development so that they also hit their own personal objectives. I love that. Um, you also mentioned that one of the most important things that you realized over your journey in coaching so far was how to create lasting impact. So because as you said, kanina, championships and trophies and medals can be forgotten. So can you share with our audience on how you approach the challenge of ensuring consistent progress?
Um, I think I've been also fortunate enough and blessed enough to, when I got into UP, the culture of, yung brotherhood, yung support, was pretty established already. Thanks in huge part also to Coach Bob. And then I think that just got carried on, no? It just, maybe there were a few years after Coach Bob na medyo, medyo the team or the culture went astray. But the players, knew what they wanted, knew what kind of culture they wanted to build for the team to achieve success. And when I got on as a head coach in 2008, they were coming off a season of frustration. 2 seasons yon. They thought that they were a very, very strong team. The players believe that, we're good enough to, fight it out in the championship. But they lack guidance. So when I got on, that self-belief was very, very evident. And the culture of, being together and then just having that figure to guide them, carried them to that first championship. But looking back, it's what was very well. What I personally can take away from that experience was the team went through 2 years of frustration, but they stood strong. They held on. They stayed together. And just ano lang parang what I did was just maybe provide direction, and then they did the rest. And this is the kind of culture that up to now is very evident in the team. The transition or the what you call this, yung pagpasok ng mga bagong players, they inaano namin agad because the seniors, they are really in charge of establishing or introducing the culture to the younger players. Na yun nga, culture of support, culture of mentoring. So we've actually made committees, ACADS committees, socials committees, para makover lahat ng areas, needs ng mga players. And the leaders provide that direction and mentoring. The younger players are expected to really, work hard and learn as much as they can. But at the same time, the seniors make sure that, okay, these kids are doing all this work, yung mga, di ba, inuutusan yan, sila nagdadala ng mga gamit, sila naglalaban ng vests. But at the end of the day, pag nagyaya yung mga seniors, o tara kain tayo, sagot nila yung mga bata. Papakainin nila. Wala kayong gagastusin. That's the rule. Pag may mga freshmen na sumasama sa kain or hangout, they will not spend for anything. And our team captains or seniors eat last. They eat last. Ang nauuna parati yung mga bata, because that's parang how we show also our appreciation for the efforts of the kids. And yun nga, parang kami bahala sa inyo. That's the culture. Kami bahala sa inyo.
I love that. No, so very, very Simon Sinek in the way that leaders eat last. I love that, Coach Anto. And parang it really speaks highly of how Simone says that you're a coach of a modern mindset. Because nga, I remember growing up, it wasn't always like that. Sometimes the bullying and the harassment came from the older batches. And I love how you're ensuring that within the team culture that you have, you're already ensuring that the team in itself embraces the challenge as a team. So much so that divided yung roles. There's a strive for each of the team members to, buddy and bring each other and pull each other up to hit one common objective. I like that. So it really talks about the importance of instilling a culture. So thanks for that. So I turn it over to Relly because I find that these things build up toward the next topic, which is one of the tips that I think I value the most from you. So, Relly.
Thanks, Rob. Very inspirational conversation that I've been hearing, Coach Anto. No? And this whole coaching philosophy, how you treat your players. For everyone's knowledge, no, I've observed Coach Anto for the past 7 years. Because being the commissioner of the UAP, and he's really very entertaining to watch, as a coach, especially when you team him up with Popoy. Hi, Poy. You can really see the difference and the opposites, but working together as a team, they really produce caliber players. Even if I notice with you, Coach, even when you shout out instructions to your players during the match, it's like you're parang tinuturuan mo pa rin sila, di ba? I know your famous hand movements like this, and I like that. I always observe that, and I always take that to note. But it's very nice, and I like where this is going. So you, as what Carlos mentioned, you won 6 championships, no, as a coach for UP, 5 for the men's, 1 for the women's, no. But each year, no, there's always something that comes up. Any of course, they're good situations, but there are always sometimes the bad ones and the controversies. Let's say, for example, losing games due to an ineligible player or forfeiting a game because of protocols not followed. I notice you always remain. I think with you always remained calm, composed, both on and off the field. Parang, all these problems are just, behind you, and you're just moving forward, and you're still able to turn things around, that you're even able to bring your team, to the semifinals or even reach the finals. Diba? So, with all this, diba? And especially even during big matches, in our conversation earlier, that there's not even an ounce of fear or doubt in your mind or in your aura, diba, whenever you come into a game. So what's the mindset here? What is the mentality behind this?
Like during our previous talks, I just, I enjoy adversity. I welcome it. I think I developed that kind of mentality as a young kid. I did not grow up with my parents. So as a kid, fortunately, I had a loving tita, tito, cousins who who treated us like their own family. But, you know, at the end of the day, who will give you affirmation, sino yung katabi mo matulog. We didn't have that, me and my sister. So, I was also seeking, for a sense of identity and belongingness at the same time. And I found that through sports. And I think that's what, developed my mindset or mentality, that whenever there are challenges, yes, they might be difficult. It might give you like struggles, but you know what? There's a lot of opportunities beyond these struggles, beyond these adversities. And that's what I really look forward to. For example, we've had seasons wherein, yun nga, di ba, na-mention mo, there was one, on my second year of coaching, we had 3-4 games forfeited because of some eligibility issues. And then we were the defending champions. Then because of that development, we finished last during that season. So 6th place kami. So the following year, I mean, there were some players who were fighting because, sisihan, ganyan. But yun nga eh, having the challenge mindset, we're 6th. We lost our way. We got distracted because of those developments. But this is another season for us to work on ourselves and show ourselves what kind of team we really are. That's why I think during championships, parang we view a championship as just a regular game. So that's our mentality. Hey, the championship is just another game, but we approach every game like it's a championship game. So there's really no difference. Walang difference sa approach whether it's an elimination game against the last place team or a championship game. That's the kind of mentality that we try to instill in the team. So they feel na, every single challenge must be dealt with, the same way. With full effort, be emotionally stable. So that's what we've been, trying to really instill in the team.
I think that's what's good about it. As they say, right? Whatever you teach on the field can also be taught off the field and all in life. Diba? I mean, coming from your background, having been separated from your parents at an early age, diba? That has to have been tough, right? But I guess you're able to cope. You're able to get through it, diba? And then whatever challenges that come your way, and you're able to get through it, it makes you stronger each time. Kahit na ano. That's why even with and I like how you never played the blame game. You took it upon yourself that I was at fault or I was to blame for that season, but you're able to get back on track and then just continue on and perform very well the next season. So that's good. That's good. Now, of course, most coaches would measure success with winning. Winning championships, collecting trophies, just making a name for themselves. Even I was reading a book last night, by Sir Alex Ferguson. It's called Leading, right? And he actually said, right? When I entered Manchester United, all I wanted to do was win trophies.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't enough time to win, but I just wanted to win. But with you and the UP squad, both men and women, how would you personally view your own success, in terms of what you do in coaching? What is your personal view of success?
We really cannot blame Sir Alex. I also admire him as a coach,
Yeah, me.
right? He has very I think his philosophy, coaching philosophy, is also one of the few philosophies that I really admire. But that's the professional side. So actually, I'm contemplating if I can be an effective coach on the professional level with that same philosophy na wala akong pakialam sa winning, or I won't set winning as a target. So that's medyo yan dilemma, because 'di ba, as a coach, the maybe the next step for you, if you really want to progress with your coaching career, it's the professional
right.
level or the national team. And in that area, winning is the priority. So, but since I'm working with young adults and kids also with Aspire, um, I want to use football as a tool, to build them, to help them become better persons. It's a cliche, but it comes with the realization that a lot of these kids will not be playing football after college. They will have their own. They will pursue different paths, and if your view of success is just winning championships, then you'll just focus on building technical skills, tactical, making them physically fit, top level football players. Then what happens if they don't pursue football as a career? What happens if they started working in companies, starting their own business, and they didn't learn anything apart from football related skills? No values formation in terms of um, goal setting, commitment. So with all these things, I started viewing success as that sense of satisfaction or fulfillment, from knowing that you gave everything that you can to reach your goal. Whether you reach it or not, if you feel that personally, oh, I really sacrificed so much, I did all that I can to reach that goal, but I didn't reach it, no problem. That's success. And this is the same mentality that we try to instill in our players. That's why we never talk about winning, because when you achieve your process orientation, we check all of those things, then that's success in itself.
That's a good point. That's a good point that you say. And actually, right now, like when you mentioned, like after life after football, especially for those working in the corporate world, na kung sino yung sino yung may values or may training as an athlete, sino yung wala yung how they embrace disappointments, failures, diba? And that there's some people who are just not cut out for it. But it's true, diba? I mean, it's not about winning. It's as long as you give it your best, kahit na it doesn't go your way, diba? That's the full satisfaction, diba? At least for full commitment, 100, not even 100, 110%, diba? So you give it your all, but if it doesn't go your way, then it's fine. That's like a lesson learned and move forward. So that's what I like. I like this. I like this, and I think you really have a good place in grassroots football, in collegiate football, because this is where the way your coaching philosophy is, it's really values formation, and that's what we need, diba? So that when they get to the professional level, dala nila yan, diba?
Yeah.
Dala nila yan, and they know how to conduct themselves. It's not just about winning. It's not just about the money. It's really about working hard and giving 100% and that fulfillment, diba? we mentioned earlier, I think Simon mentioned earlier, or you mentioned earlier in 2016, di ba? It was really a trying time for you and the football community about Rogi. You know, for the viewers who don't know, Rogi Maglinas in 2016 passed away at the age of 19 due to cancer. And it was a heartbreaking time, felt not only by Coach Anto and the UP football community, but the rest of the football community as well. Even us, you know, Ateneo, LaSalle, UST, even the NCAA teams, right? And, you know, we all felt the loss and sadness. And we're actually all praying that he would actually beat it, diba? But in the end, like the story that you told that the men's and the women's actually won the championship, all for Rogi. I think when I was watching it on TV, you guys laid out this big tarpaulin, right? As it for Rogi. Tama ba yun? Yeah, if I was correct. So, you know, it just really, you know, even as I think, was that against Ateneo ba? Yun ka lang. Yeah, it was, right?
Yes, Ateneo.
Yes, but even with Ateneans, I think we were UP fight for that particular day as well, because we just wanted, you know, because you know that Rogi was smiling from up there. But yeah, so how important was this for you that not only UP but the whole community was right behind you, you know, in terms of financial support, you know, for the family, in terms of, you know, moral support to be able to achieve the goal that you set, you know, after he passed away.
You know, this is the beauty of the sport. It really, it's a venue of unification, of support. I mean, I was really overwhelmed, no? Overwhelmed with joy and parang grabe yung support. Like, as you mentioned, di ba? Rival schools, but then sa fundraising events namin, nandun sila. PFL, UFL, PFL at the time. PFL teams. UFL. Like Ultras Kayas, they also made a for Rogi banner. My club Meralco had these shirts made, you know, and then showed them during their pre-match photo ops to honor Rogi. So, and a lot of people just helped, and that's, you know, utang na loob namin yan sa football and sa football community. And I think one very good thing about it also was na-embody din yung example ni Rogi. Because as a player, he was really, laking hirap siya eh. He came from a poor town in Masbate. And he really wanted to, you know, go to UP to finish, go back to his to his province, teach, and, you know, also help football. So that was his purpose, you know. And how he was in UP, siya pinakamasipag na player namin. And he was the best skilled player because of his hard work. We have morning sessions, and then in the afternoon, makikita mo yan sa field, nag-extra work. So those are the traits that he embodied, no. But because he was geared towards yun nga, a bigger purpose, and he really wanted to help his family and his community in Masbate. And actually, when we went there, you know, people, his friends were sharing na, Coach, alam nyo, naging inspirasyon talaga namin si Rogi. Marami dito na gusto na rin, na talagang nagpupursige sa paglalaro para makapag-aral sa Manila, maging scholar, at makapagbigay ng magandang kinabukasan sa pamilya. No? So he gave us that inspiration and example.
And this spirit will live on, you know, with the UP football. And I think even up to, you know, the seasons after, you continue to have 4 Rogi in your jerseys, right? As a reminder. And I think that's the best tribute that you could ever give a player. And like what I said, we can be rivals, football, but that's the beauty of football, or the beauty of sport. That when there is something like a hardship or a challenge that one team or one player is going through, we're just all there to back you up. We're all unified, to working together. So, Coach Anto, my last question is really, I noticed your jersey, Aspire,
Mhm.
Aspire Academy, which you established, I think, just pretty recently, no? And I think some of your coaches are also former players of yours, right? So, what is the vision, for Aspire Academy? Is it a continuation of your whole philosophy, or tell us more about it?
Oh yes. It's like it's been a dream of mine, because even when I was still playing, parang I realized how important football was for me growing up. Yun nga, it gave me that self of identity, a sense of belongingness. It trained me to be disciplined, to be hardworking. I had so many wonderful experiences with football, from the coaches that I was under, from my teammates. So basically, the whole football journey has been a very, very wonderful one. And these same experiences are what I wanna, share to the young kids. I want them to experience football, how great it is, how beautiful it is. Um, and then to add to that is, di ba, when we played for the national team, nagkaroon ng trend of, getting players from overseas, which helped our football progress. But I still believe that, the best way forward is to really build from the ground up. Of course, we thank the overseas players for, help popularize the sport also, and raise the level of football. They've really done a huge part. But I think if we really wanna progress, we need to, have or develop our players here, and bring them up together. So that's the vision that I have for the academy. It's like a small picture, um, and it's I'm not saying that it's the way to go, because it's also a testing ground. I'm still learning a lot about youth development. Um, I've also realized some approach might work for the college players, some might not for the kids. So it's a testing ground, and hopefully, if we see results in terms of the development of the players, we want to make this as a model. And of course, the intention is to help uplift the state of football in the country. That's the ultimate goal.
And that's all we want as well, as as part of the community. And like what I said, I mean, a lot of academies, they talk about the different values that they can actually provide, but you really focus on this one, and I think that's what we admire about you. Parang it's something that please do share with us, with the other academies, on how it's done, because you pretty much, it's reflected in how your players in UP, and with Claret, and then now with the kids in Aspire, it's really a good, what do you call this, it's a surefire success. That's all I can say in terms of so continue on.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 100%. We see these things. We know that if it's going to make the kid better, both physically, mentally, psychologically, diba? And as he grows up, and I think that's really the best solution right there, the best formula. So I turn you over now to Carlos, for his next match. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Rels.
Wow, coach. I mean, that story, your story is without a doubt something that a lot of individuals would definitely want to hear from. Like, I actually learned something about leading with a purpose. And if you're a leader or if you're an organization and you don't have that purpose, chances are things are going to spiral downward. So, coach, let me ask you, what are your three tips in delivering that sort of purpose or in leading with that sort of purpose? Go.
The first one has to be leading with empathy. So me and Simone talked about that a while ago. It's very important for leaders to, you know, see things the way their players, their employees see them, and how they feel them also. And then the next one is creating a culture, focusing on, you know, values that are sustainable and that last for generations. Um, like with us in football or in UP, yun nga, winning championships, you know, the following year may bago na namang champion. But if you build on, you know, the support, the culture of you know, embracing adversity, and focusing on processes, then these things can just be passed on towards the next generations. And then last is um, finding a purpose bigger than yourself. Um, even people who are like, di ba, maraming mga into the island life, you know, the surfers, etc., etc. For sure they also have a purpose bigger than themselves. Maybe it's, you know, inspiring other people, you know, to look at life as you know, enjoying the simple things in life. We never know, okay? But when you have a purpose bigger than yourself, you're more committed to it, because you know that others are also dependent on it. You make an impact to the other, to people. But if it's only a purpose that impacts yourself, then it's so easy to, you know, so easy to give up. It's so easy to lose motivation, because you don't feel that sense of responsibility. I learned, you know, I learned also, you know, how big it is when you have that kind of purpose from one of my former players, Daniel Gadia. I interviewed him when he was applying for UP. So I asked him, why do you want to go to UP? And then he told me, Coach, kasi sa tingin ko po, kapag nakapagtapos ako sa UP, mas mabibigyan ko ng magandang kinabukasan ang pamilya ko. He grew up in a very difficult environment. And for a player that young to have that purpose, it just, you know, wow, it inspired me tremendously. That's why whenever I watch him play, you know, and the way he fight, the way he works hard, the way he, you know, he sacrifices, stays disciplined. Wow, it goes back to that day when I interviewed him. He does these things for his family.
Wow, I mean, of course, those are really, really mouth-watering words that could really echo into our hearts. Thank you so much, Coach Anto. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 3 important tips for you to lead with a purpose. Lead with empathy, create a culture, and lastly, find a bigger purpose than yourself. There? All right, Coach Anto, I know you're going to be excited for our next segment, which is none other than Crunch Time. So, you already know the rules for Crunch Time. It's basically we're gonna give you some simple questions, answer simple responses, no explanations needed. So, Coach Anto, are you ready? All right, there we go. Thumbs up, and here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and first question, Coach Anto. Who's your favorite football player?
Zinedine Zidane.
Ah, Zinedine Zidane. Yeah, same here, yo. Big Real Madrid fan here. All right, next. Lob pass or through ball?
Through ball.
Through ball. Oh, okay. Interesting. Next. Deep midfielder or advanced midfielder?
Deep midfielder.
Oh, wow. I was expecting you're going to go for the advanced one, but you go for like the deep lying playmaker. Interesting. All right, next. Screaming at players or cold treatment?
Whew, that's a tough one. Screaming.
Screaming. Okay, yeah. Based on the pauses, we can see that you've just delivered the cold treatment in front of us. All right, next. Street football or field football?
Ooh. I believe in the importance of street football in building a footballing culture, especially here in our country. But I enjoy field football more.
Field football. All right, yeah. Good answer there. I like that. Next. Teaching football or teaching sports science?
Teaching football.
All right, yeah. Loyalty with the sport. I like that. Next. Coaching or playing?
Coaching right now.
Coaching right now. Okay, next. Claret or UP?
Ooh, tough one. Fudge. I think UP because I've spent more years with UP.
UP. All right. Okay, next. John Wooden or Phil Jackson?
Whew, tough one also. I read both of their books. I shall go with John Wooden.
John Wooden. Okay. Right, next. For the last sports-related question, Popoy Clarinho or Franco Bambico?
Pareho silang sinaktan yung puso ko nung nag-asawa sila. Pero mas masakit yung puso ko nung nag-asawa si Popoy.
Oh, okay. So Popoy. All right. Next. Okay. Now we go to some non-sports related questions. And first is adobo or sinigang?
Sinigang.
Sinigang. Okay. Same here. All right. Next. Fried food or grilled?
Grilled.
Grilled. All right. Okay. Next. Work out or eat out?
Work out.
Work out. Okay.
But I don't want to work out on an empty stomach.
All right. Yeah, of course. It's kind of daunting. You know, I could relate to that. All right. Next, the most interesting question. First, Descendants of the Sun or Itaewon Class?
I haven't watched Itaewon Class.
Okay, so we're going.
Maybe Chloe or Descendants of the Sun.
Oh, Chloe or this. Okay, let's rephrase it. Chloe or Descendants of the Sun?
I'd go for Chloe.
Chloe. Okay, let's add a twist. It's okay not to be okay, or Chloe?
It's okay not to be okay.
Oh, it's okay not to be okay. All right, let's go for a more deeper route.
Nabibisto ako ng mga players ko kung anong pinapanood ko
Okay, let's dig deep, okay? So Ye Ji of It's Okay Not to Be Okay or Son Ye Jin of Chloe?
So Ye Ji.
So Ye Ji. All right, there you go. That's the final question. Ding, ding, ding. Crunch time is over. So that wraps everything up. But of course, we do have our final messages. Simone, Relly, and Robbie, you know what to do. Tell the audience what we have stored in the next coming weeks. Go.
Well, first of all, guys, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again to Coach Anto for gracing us with his presence. It was a very insightful conversation and picked up a lot of tips here. So do catch us again next Saturday as we have Olympian marathoner Mary Joy Tabal, who will grace us with her presence. I'll turn you over to Simone, who will give you more of a lineup for the rest of November. Sim?
Thanks, Relly. Thanks again, Coach Anto, for joining us today and giving us that deep dive into how you run things. And I've taken notes so I can access them anytime. So, hey, teammates, check out the rest of our November lineup on our Facebook page. After our episode with Olympic marathoner Mary Joy Tabal, we'll be hearing from two pioneers in the Philippine esports industry. That's Ren Vitog and Ralph Aligada. They'll be giving us a better picture of the opportunities in esports and what we can learn from being involved in the industry. And that will be followed by our tribute episode to Rico Navarro, a well-loved sportsman who has been an influence to many of us and to many of us who have had the privilege to meet him. So thanks for joining us again, teammates, and we hope you could share with us on Facebook your thoughts and what you learned from this episode and tag the Gold Diggers PH. Or you could simply share our posts or comment on our video uploads on Facebook and YouTube. So we'd really love to hear from you guys.
Hey teammates, so thanks very much for following us on this episode. We hope that you picked up our thing or two from Coach Anto. I know I have, and I'm looking forward to already posting it on our Facebook page on his quotable quotes that we've mined from this particular session. So please continue to follow the Gold Diggers Facebook page where you will see those quotes, and you will see some details as well with our fundraising initiative called Pitch in PH. So the fundraising continues for our sports people affected by the pandemic. Look at our Facebook page for more details. So over to you, Coach Anto.
Thanks, Gold Diggers. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rels. Thanks, Simon and Carlos. It's been an honor to be here, and I hope the viewers learned a thing or two. This is such a great platform, and I hope you guys continue doing the good work. And I forgot like maybe a small insight that's relatable during these times. When we're faced with adversity, let's always ask ourselves, what is this teaching us? And then definitely we can respond better. So try to donate also. It's an opportunity. We're faced with this adversity, but it's an opportunity to show our good heart and help those who are deeply in need. So thank you, everyone, and keep watching the Gold Diggers.
All right, so thank you so much, Coach Anto, for those final remarks. And that ends our today's session. Once again, my name is Carlos Pineda, and this is Gold Diggers. Remember to dream, dig in, and win. See you next time on our next episode.